I think that the important thing for us to understand is, as I started to think about this idea of living a life that matters, I realized that too often we start to look outside to figure out if we matter. And as you all know, in 2019, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer. They found what turned out to be a 7.5 centimeter tumor in my bladder. And what people don't know is that what I started to do every single day at 5 p.m., I live on the beach. I would walk down on the beach and I would take a walk on the beach, and I had my phone with me, and I would record a video of what I was feeling, what I was thinking, what was going on in my head. Then I would put the phone down, I'd get in the water for 20 minutes, and then I'd get up on the rocks and I'd visualize for 20 minutes, come back up and do that. Now I've got all these videos from back in 2019 every day on my phone. And I was talking with a dear friend of mine on it a couple of weeks ago, and I happened to bring it up. He says, "Have you ever done anything with the videos?" I said, "I haven't even looked at them." And he says, "Would you be willing to release one?" I go, I don't know. They were just a personal thing to me. That's like releasing the journal. And he said, "Send me a few." And in the process, I started to go back through these things. Now, I'm not going to say that it was easy to go back through and listen. And I actually released 60 seconds of the very first one I did. It was a week after I got diagnosed, before my surgery, before we knew how bad it was, before we went through any treatments or anything. But the theme of all of them was to examine my life. And I think that there's this saying, there's this saying that Socrates had, and that is this saying of, an unexamined life is not worth living. And I want you to think about it in a little different way. And that is this: but an unlived life is not worth examining. That's me with my Uncle Yoda. And here's why I think this is important, is that if we don't value ourselves first, we can't place value in the world. So in a sense, I believe that we need to be selfish so we can be selfless. It's not all about me, but I got to get me right. Yeah, I remember telling the kids at the karate school, I said, 2 things you gotta get clear in your mind. What are you going to stand for? How are you going to show up? And this has nothing to do with what you do for a living. It has nothing to do with what you do in your daily life. It actually has to do with who you are, the being. It's not your title. It's not your job description. It's not your CV. It's not your resume. And so what I want to walk through is this. As I reflected back on what I did with post-cancer and up to the cancer, what were the things, the questions I asked to allow me to examine my life so I could show up? Because people have heard me talk about this whole idea of legacy. And I met my wife 12, going on 13 years now. And she would hear me talk about legacy. Now, she came from Philly, so she thought legacy meant that I wanted some statue on some steps, like a Rocky statue. And I go, no. See, we think that legacy is something that happens when we leave this earthly place. But I don't believe legacy is that. I believe that legacy is created each and every moment. Our interaction right now, Brendan's interaction right now, that is legacy. Legacy is created in the moment. And if we realize that we have the opportunity with a handshake, with a smile, with a wink, with "I'm proud of you," to create legacy, to change a moment, to do something, you find that life matters in the moment. And when we look at life through that way, we start to look at things differently. So I want to walk you through this framework that's going to ask a couple questions for you. And I think that this is the thing that we start to look at in doing what we do. And the first thing is this: we have to examine your person. This is answering the question of who I am. Who am I? Too often we get into, what social media expects of us, or what our parents expect of us, or society expects of us, or people expect of us. But who am I? Who am I defining me to be? You get to live this existence, not someone else. And so there's a couple things. There's 5 things I want to walk you through here, just as ideas of how you can examine this. And the first thing is this: you gotta see it in you. Too often, we look at our imperfections, which to me is the gold. But we have to see it in ourselves, the possibility. We have to see the gifts we bring. We have to see that, but not just see it. We have to be willing to accept it. To be willing to accept it as our being. To accept I'm a good dad, I'm a good wife, I'm a good, whatever. And that's not enough. And what I want you to do is phrase these in questions as you start to examine your life. Am I seeing it? Am I accepting it? Am I nurturing it? We've all been given a unique set of gifts, some that we have to continually develop, some that were innate. Are you nurturing it? Are you respecting and giving the reverence to the gifts that you have to be here right now? Which leads me to this. Are you willing to receive it? I can tell you that when it was hard for me early on, it still is, to receive compliments, to receive accolades, to receive, hey, you got this. And so what we are pushing away is the very gifts that other people are acknowledging. So we have to see it, we have to accept it, we need to nurture it, but we need to be willing to receive it so we can do the last thing, and that is to give it. You weren't given the gifts of your life to hoard it. Yes, you need to be selfish to develop it, but you need to be selfless to give it. And so we need to look at it through those eyes. And so when I look at who I am, I start to ask those questions. Am I seeing it? Am I accepting it, nurturing it, receiving it? And am I giving it? That leads me to the second piece of this framework. And the second piece is, if I examine the person, I have to now examine the potential. If the person is who I am, the potential is who I can be. Now, there's 3 things here I want you to look through. To acknowledge the question of what is possible. What's possible in this life? What is possible in this moment? To not look through the eyes of problem, but look through the eyes of solution. Everything around us was simply a thought. Everything around us was simply a possibility. Everything around us was a dream, but is now a reality. What is possible for you?
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.